about your fun fact?
Yes, she did.
Okay, good. All right. Well, it is 12:35, so I'm going to get us started. This is the Clinical Consultation Network. We do this every Tuesday at 12:30. So glad you could join us today. We have a very important topic today. Marissa Smith-Fletcher is here with Empower Tennessee, is here to talk to us about unlocking hope and resources in housing. That is such an important topic, and I'm so glad that you are here today to talk to us about that, Marissa. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to go on and make a couple of announcements about what we have upcoming, and then we will launch into your presentation here. But on February 7th, we have Adrian O'Brien, one of my great friends from the Middle Tennessee Regional Office, who's going to come and talk to us about resources for adults who are not currently in services. So I've said many times before, we have maybe about 25,000 people who have some sort of service through DIDD or through one of our partners out there. And then there are probably another 100 or 125,000 people out there who are not part of our service system, who may have an intellectual or developmental disability. And so, there's a lot more people out there that may need something that aren't in our service system. And Adrian's going to talk to us about how to help those folks. That's really important. And then, of course, one of the most important topics that we deal with is sexuality. Catherine McLaughlin is going to be here on the 14th, an appropriate day to talk about love. She's going to talk to us about sexuality education for self-advocates. February 21st is to be determined. And if there's anybody out there who wants to be part of our Clinical Consultation Network presentation cadre, then please join us. Let us know. We'll try to get you plugged in on February 21st. February 28th is our fourth Tuesday feature. I always want to say fourth Thursday feature for some reason, but it's fourth Tuesday feature with a National Association for Dual Diagnosis partner. And so we will have someone here from NAD on that date. So that's what we have upcoming. And slide. Please welcome today's guest, Marissa Smith-Fletcher. Thank you so much for being here. And Marissa, you're with Empower Tennessee. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
All righty. Well, I am good old 45 and I am married. I got 2 cats. I am working from home right now. You may hear one of them come through and join our discussion today. And I currently work for Empower Tennessee. I am
Tell us a little bit about Empower Tennessee. What's the
Oh,
mission?
it's a great agency. It's a center for independent living. They are throughout the nation. There are 6 in Tennessee. We would love to have more to cover our whole entire state. Basically, what we do is we help individuals with disabilities, cross disabilities, get their independent living goal. So they'll reach out to us, and if they have a goal that they would like to reach, be it employment, housing, assistive technology, we sort of help them figure out a plan and the steps to achieve those goals. We connect, we do information and referral, and we partner up with other agencies to help individuals. And that's what we do.
All right, very good. How'd you get engaged with Empower Tennessee? How long have you been with them?
Oh my gosh, I have been there now for 5 years.
Whoa, okay.
I know. I'm lucky to be a part of it. I have had such a heart for people with disabilities. I worked for Metro Public Schools as a paraprofessional. I also worked for Metro Parks Disabilities Program, and now I'm on their board. And so when I was looking for another job 5 years ago, and I saw that ad, I was like, yes, and I was lucky enough to be a part of that team and meet some amazing individuals, a part of the Tennessee Disability Coalition, and be able to work with Babs. And so, yeah, I'm there and I'm loving it. Oh my gosh, it sounds like McDonald's.
Well, you're loving it. That's great, and it's some really important work you're into. And but before we launch into your presentation, we want to hear your fun fact for today. And so, I think you came armed with a fun fact for us.
I did. So, I talk with deer. Um, I've had so many encounters with deer out in the wild,
Oh,
and
okay.
I use a certain voice, and for some reason, which excites me greatly, they stop and they'll listen. They don't run away. Sometimes I
Oh,
get waggings of tails, and it just fills my spirit. So,
you're the
yes,
deer whisperer. That's
yes,
amazing.
I need to turn this into something.
You really do. That is amazing. I'm anxious to see that in action at some point because there are a lot of deer out at Clover Bottom. I'm out there very frequently, and there are tons of deer out there. Of course, they're very friendly because nobody's hunting them around in that area. But
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that anybody can get them to stop and attend to them though. That's an amazing skill.
Thank you so much. My husband says that I need to, I'll be on the passenger side when he's driving. I'll be like, "Oh my God, there's a deer. We got to stop so I can talk to him." And he's like, "No, this is this is not the way. Let's do safety for them and safety for us. Let's just wait for our hikes."
Yeah, well, yeah. So some people might think that you needed some sort of assistance if you were doing that, but I classify that as a great skill. So that's wonderful.
Thanks.
So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Marissa, and let you carry on with your presentation. I'll probably jump in and rudely interrupt. I'm going to invite everybody else out there to also ask questions either through the chat or by coming off mute and asking their questions as well. I'm sure there will be some today because this is such an important topic and one I don't think a lot of people know that much about.
All right. And yes, please help me out. I'm not as familiar with WebEx as I am with Zoom, so I'm going to have to, learn my way around the
Yeah.
chat. So please feel free to help me out. I will take
So
it.
there should be you should see a share button somewhere.
I do. And let me there. And is that working? Do
Yes,
you?
it is. You're up. Unlocking hope and resources.
Perfect. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Davis, and thank you, Babs. And so we're here to talk about, housing. So right now, on screen, there is a door and a key to unlock this special place that we call good old home. Oh, home. So, I would love to hear from like maybe three individuals if they want to either shout out what home is to them, or if you want to put it in the chat. I would love that. Let me see if I can see the chat. I can't see the chat from here. Ooh.
Well, I never let a good cliche die. Home is where the heart is.
Home is where the heart is, right? And
Very
it's
unoriginal, very unoriginal.
oh, it pops up. Oh, I love WebEx. Cats and hubby, safe. Um, oh, I love this peaceful space. Yes. And in this picture, it says on the pillow, there is no place like home. We're all Dorothy, right? Home is such a respite. And so my grandmother, she lives in the heart of Nashville, in a gentrified space in now the it part of town that was not at one time. And so now she gets calls all the time saying, "Can you sell your property? Can you sell your property?" And she'll stop them and she'll say, "It is not a property. This is my home and it is not for sale." And the first time I heard her say it, because she says it quite frequently, but the first time I heard her say it, it sparked something in me because home is, it's a place where you hang your hat. It is respite. It is peace. It's where we commune with our friends and our family and our community and our neighbors. Home is that. And guess what? We all deserve it. So, brass tacks, I have a picture of a house in a shopping cart, and the brass is represented by good old copper pennies. If only we could buy houses with pennies. And I have everyone deserves shelter. And when I say shelter, I mean a home. So it's not just a roof above your head, it's all the other. And like you talked about, it's peace. There's no place like home. And in metropolitan cities in Tennessee, housing prices are skyrocketing and they're impacting our surrounding cities due to an influx of citizens looking for affordability. And so this then raises the housing prices in other cities and so on and so on. So that affects our state and that impacts our whole nation. And so when I talk about affordability, there are two terms in regards to housing. Let me move the screen a little bit so I can see. So, affordable housing. Affordable housing is considered affordable for a particular family or individual if it costs equal to or less than 30% of their income. So, an example, 60,000 annually for a family or individual would be 18,000 per year or 1,500 per month. If we're looking at a family who's making 30,000 annually, that's going to be 9,000 per year or $750 per month would be affordable. And so let's think of this in terms of citizens, what affordable housing, what that looks like. So for Nashvillians, that's childcare workers, bank tellers, restaurant staff, security guards, nurses, retail staff, seniors, administrators, individuals receiving Social Security benefits, SSI, SSDI, retirement. And so the next is workforce housing. And what does that look like? That looks like a family or individual between 60% or 120% of MHI, and where it's not cost burden. So for a family making like 35,000 to 72 annually, that's looking like $900 a month to $1,800 a month. And then for a family that's in the 20,000 area to 39 or 40, that's looking like $500 a month or 484 as it says, or up to 1,000. Okay, so think about that. Okay, and what that looks like for Nashvillians, workforce, affordable housing. Thinking about who you were talking about, Dr. Davis, that might be police officers, web designers, electricians, social workers, nurses, retail managers, you and I. Okay,
Yeah.
and you could fall in and out of these lists. So you could be in workforce housing or you could be in affordable housing. All right. This is a big deal. And when you think about it, which I am so amazed by this fact, 70% of Nashvillians, 70%, oh my goodness, fall into this range of affordable housing and workforce housing. So 70% of Nashvillians are seeking this. How many of them are getting it? So here's what we're going to talk about next. Right? What are we talking about with our clients? Where do you start? Partnerships and collaborations, and self care practices. All right. And if I take deep breaths, it's just because this subject means so much to me because I feel it. When I talk to these people, I am full on empathetic, compassionate, and also like, I feel you. I feel like Oprah sometimes when I talk to people. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, what I oh, thank you, Nicole. So, I would love to hear from y'all. What do you all talk to your clients about? Like, shoot it in the chat. What do people say? What are they looking for?
So anybody who has a comment, please put it in the chat box right now. Or if anybody wants to come on and talk about that, the experiences with getting their clients housing, feel free to unmute and talk to us about it.
This is Janet Schaus. My
Hi, Jan.
client, if you will, is my 27-year-old son with autism. He
Okay.
relies on an SSI check, which I just checked, and I believe now for 2023, his monthly total income will be $914.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs a place by himself because of behavior issues.
Mm-hmm.
We live in Williamson County. He
Okay.
needs to be near us because we are the only ones who are permitted, his father and I are the only ones permitted to give him a PRN medication. Guess what?
What?
You can't find anything that would even take his whole SSI check. Williamson County.
And 30% of that would be $274 or somewhere around in that range.
Thank
Which,
Thank you for that quick math and help it make sense, right? So and and it's so funny. I'm in these spaces where there's so many individuals fighting so hard, and I finally feel like it is being heard. I finally feel like there's been enough uproar where some things are slowly changing. But here we are, we're still waiting, right, Janet? We're still like, what do we do? We're exhausting our efforts. We're like trying to figure it out. And what I will say, Janet, is we have to be creative. We have to advocate, fight, and we have to show up in the spaces. So you have to join, figure out what your continuum of care is, what your COC is in Williamson County. You have to show up to these meetings to talk about housing, because that's the only way the space is going to happen. And then we have to show and have these little discussions. And I think it would be so cool, and I'm waiting for this to happen, for parents, and especially parents who are looking for their young folks and they're trying to help their kids find spaces, to talk to developers, because there have been these conversations as agencies where we're trying to get developers to either take Section 8, hold certain spaces for affordable housing or workforce housing, and then they get tax credits, they get benefits, but they have to hear those conversations from all different types of people, and people that may be they may connect with in a different way. So that is something that I would encourage, and we'll keep going. And thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Thank you. So when I'm talking to conversations with clients, and I hear stories like Janet, I connect with it. I think about who you were talking about, Bruce, earlier, and it's just, whew, it's so hard because I've been in that space. And so one of the things that I like to do is I immediately have real conversations. I don't hold back. I let someone know exactly what they're dealing with, what the market is. Now, Janet is someone who gets it. She's out there. She's doing it. She's trying. She's she's calling the calls and walking the walk, right? Trying to look. But some people, they're just moving to Nashville. We got 100 people moving to Nashville a day. And that is throughout Tennessee. This is happening in all of our metropolitan cities. You can, and I've find it fascinating. If you have time, you can join Facebook groups of like moving to Tennessee, and you can hear these conversations. There are certain paths from California and Nashville where like hotels are like, this person is from Nashville or from California moving to Tennessee every day. Okay, this is not a joke. So when someone calls me and they're asking about housing, I make sure that we have shared language. Okay, I make sure that we understand what's going on. And then I give them a scope. That way, it's kind of like, how can I put it? Okay, it's kind of like if you're going on vacation and you're lucky enough to go on vacation and you're like, okay, I need to look for a hotel. I need to look for an Airbnb. You're not just going to get one. You're going to look for where it is, what the amenities are, what it's close to, transportation, all of those things, right? You want it to feel safe. So I make sure that we have, and so that's the scene, that's the scope. So I set that picture when we're talking about the housing market in our area. I'm setting the scene, I'm setting the scope.
Marissa, just a couple of quick questions, if you're able to answer them. So a lot of those people from California are moving here to find more affordable housing. I mean, in comparison to where they live, this is more affordable, but
Absolutely.
it also creates a lot of competition, it seems like, for the spaces that are available. And so there you inflate the price of the housing.
Absolutely. I mean, you can sell your home in California and you can outright purchase a $330,000 home here, which,
And,
oh my gosh,
and the
back
interest
in
rates don't
the
matter to you because you just sold your house and you have cash. Yeah.
day. Exactly. The competition for purchasing a home is so steep in Tennessee. And when I was just in Chattanooga, I was actually speaking to the server, and we were having a wonderful conversation. And she was like, my family wants to move here from Florida, and they're like, we're so excited. It's so much cheaper. And she lives in Chattanooga, and she was like, it's so much cheaper. And she's like, hey, they're driving up the prices in Chattanooga. I used to could get an apartment for this amount, and now everything is $1,200. And also, I don't want to be that close to my family. But it's like this is happening throughout the nation. People are looking for affordability. And so then that shifts, that also adds to the inflation, which creates competition. And the people who are actually living in our space aren't able to live where they work, which is why we have to have the conversations. So listening, right? We need to listen to the person. We need to listen to their needs, what their wants. And sometimes we may just have to hold space because we may not have the answer right then. Or it may be one of those things where we're going to have to work on it. We're going to have to chop down the steps. Okay. We're going to have to sort of figure out what we can do now. Is it wraparound services? Is it skills building? Is it looking for employment? Is it these other things that we can sort of work on now to get to that overarching goal? And we may just have to hold space for someone who's at their wits' end and just needs to talk about it and needs for someone to understand. Another thing, oh, these comments, so good. Oh, Janet, you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
She's in mid chew right now, though. But
Mid-chew, yeah, sorry about that.
That's
Um,
okay.
One thing I haven't done is talk to developers. And I guess my question is, are there times when your agency or some other agencies that might be on this group talk to developers and you could reel us family members in
So
to
this,
bring personal stories of our own I mean, it's one thing for you to say it as an
Mhm.
agency,
Absolutely.
but
This is something that we are working on. Right now, we would love to have those conversations. Like, this is one of the things that I've talked about with actually leadership is holding a space, but we sort of lost our a home during the tornado and 2020, so it sort of has shifted some things, so we're working towards that, but we want to have a space where developers come in. But I will encourage you that there are housing conferences, there are realtor meetups at like city winery that you can just look on in Eventbrite. You can look at your housing authority too, and you can be a part of those situations. You can be a part of those conversations. You can just show up and you can get a crew together. And if you join your continuum of care, you can not only be on there as an agency, but you can be on there as an individual, and you can speak to those needs. So the continuum of care in Davidson County, we have individuals with lived experience of being unhoused there, and we also have individuals who just care about how it's impacting their neighborhood and how it's impacting their family members. And that is how you could be in the space to meet those contacts and have those conversations.
I must confess, when you say a continuum of care, I don't know what you're talking about.
So we'll talk about that more later. We'll in the and just remind me when I hit on it. You'll see it on a slide. All right. And then there's connecting them with agencies or peer mentors. So, like, if I knew someone who is having the same experience as Janet is, then I'm going to say, hey, if you're interested, I might want to pair you up with this family, because then they can have some conversations. And yes, and then they may be able to figure out some things that they want to put on their bootstraps and, like, let's get walking and let's get on the phone and let's start talking. All right. Another thing. Um, on on the slide, there is a spinning wheel. And I don't want to waste someone's time at all. So I want to know what they've done. So if I'm talking as a provider, if I'm talking to Janet, I'm going to ask her, who have you reached out to? Who have you called? Whose waiting list are you on? What are you doing right now? So that's what we do in a provider space, from a family member, from someone who's going through it, as the individual reaching out to agencies. I am going to tell them what I've done. Chattanooga, yes. Thank you for sharing that. That comment went away, but thank you so much for sharing that. And if you have resources and you know of the continuum care of in your area, put that in the chat, please. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, as a family and individual, you're going to let someone know what you've done. So that way they're not going to come up with a resource or say something and you're like, I've been there, I've done that. I've been there, I've done that. So it's really important to have like an honest conversation and be patient with the person and the family and the individual. Be patient with the provider, because here's the thing, you're both going through it. You're both trying. And it's so hard on both levels. So we have to be patient with each other. And as a provider, don't promise what you can't do. Don't promise it. Don't speak on something that you can't do. You have to be honest. And I don't know if, you know, I am the type of person, I would love to end the conversation with like, or hey, we're gonna do this. And I'm solution oriented, but it can't always be that way. So I have to do what I can, and I have to be honest about what I can do. And that is going to be so important for that person, because maybe the other person that they called didn't do that. So you could change that scenario. All right. So, let's see, what are we on time? Okay. So, where do I start? So, this is kind of like oh, thanks for putting all this information in, you guys. Okay. So, this is where I start. This is kind of like my bread and butter. Now, the framework of this is, My agency, we're a Center for Independent Living. So we want opportunities for inclusion, choice, and independence. So we're coming at this as community living. This client is an adult and they want to be connected out in the community and they want to be independent. Now, we will figure out some wraparound services that this person may need in order to stay out in the community. So there might be some work on that, but this is the framework of how I am looking and searching for housing. And here's where I go. Now, I'm sure a lot of you know these resources, so I don't mean to belabor this conversation. So if I need to stop, I can, but I'm just going to show you just a couple of things. So Tennessee housing search. A lot of people are like iffy about it, but here's what I do when I go to it. So I'm going to click on this and we're going to see if it is also allowed to share. Do you
may
see
have to
this?
share it. You may have to share your browser as you
Okay,
do that. So you'll have to go back down to share and then share that particular screen as it shows
perfect.
up there.
All right.
I cannot believe I was able to instruct you how to do that, but
You
I'm
remarkable,
impressed with myself. I am going to brag about myself for a moment.
as you should. And thank you. Yes. Okay, so right now I am on tnhousingsearch.org. And let's say I'm talking to someone and they have given me some information. They're saying, oh, I've got a cat and I'm looking for a space that's like $700 and I maybe could do 850, but that's really a max. And so I'm gonna ask this person, are they able to get SNAP benefits? Are there some other wraparound services that might help if they have to do that 850? So we can kind of figure out some things that wrap around that might help sort of ease that price. And she's saying she's looking for a place in Columbia. So I'm going to put in Columbia and then we're going to search. Do, do, do. Come on. Why are you being silly? Ah, I was just not patient. Okay. Now, are you all seeing this new screen that has a map and some houses on the side? Perfect. So this is pulled up 17 properties in Columbia. And then on the side, let me move this window so I can see. So on the side, it will list apartments and a little brief information. And you can scroll down. As I'm scrolling down, it'll show you prices. And like some will say income-based rent, individuals with disabilities only. And we'll scroll down, and then you can see that this one place, Cedar Point, is pet friendly, and we have an accessible sign. So, and it says $5.95. So I want to check on that.
I
So I
just got
can
a
click.
quick question on this, Marissa. So the 17 availabilities, some of
Mhm.
them could have multiple availabilities at that location. So there's
Correct.
not just 17 places available in Columbia, but okay, gotcha.
Correct.
Okay,
And
I was just checking.
oh no, I appreciate it. So clarification is always good. I was trying to see if there's one. Oh, so right here, this one says only income eligible, right? So 70%, and then it'll tell you what that rent would be. If they're at 60% income eligible, it'll tell you what that price is. And we'll talk about that in a second. But if I click on this one, bam, let's go full listing. So it will tell you that it's income restricted. It will tell you the price. This will let you know that they are currently on a waiting list. It lets you know what the deposit could be anywhere from this to this, and that is due to the income, right? And then it'll tell you about lease, criminal check, credit check, sometimes a criminal check, because if you're as a provider or looking for someone who has a background and is looking for a space, it may give you more information when you call that it says it could be case by case, but this helps you know what they might be looking into. And then you scroll down, you see some pictures on one side of the space. And then we have the phone number and the email. I prefer calling people. You'll get a quick response with email, but there's something about that connection, especially a provider. As a family or individual, you may just want to email, but as a provider, it goes a long way. You can get more information and you can make a connection, and they may say, "Oh, we're on a waiting list," but what is that waiting list? How many people do you have on it? Sometimes they'll share that, sometimes they don't. And if they do tell you, "Oh, we have we have 20 people on the waiting list," but then you see, let's see, does this tell us? I'm looking for how many units. It does not tell us the units, but all of that to say, if they say we have, like, say that they have 118 units, and then they have 20 people on the waiting list. But so then you're like, oh, that's not so bad. But if the space is only holding 25 units for, then you're like, well, I know that that's going to be a long, I'll put myself on the waiting list, but you're not thinking that that's going to come up soon. So that's something as a provider that we can always think about. And so when you make the phone call, you can gather that information better. But this tells you some info. Oh, yes.
Just so I'm understanding, you said only low income eligibles. So
Mhm.
this is low income housing. This is housing designed for people who have low incomes.
Correct. But as we look at some other apartments, so if I was looking on rent.com or apartments.com, that's one of those things that you may, because they may have certain units filled out because they could get a tax credit. But you want to know where they might fall on that waiting list, which is there's a lot of spaces that are doing that in Nashville. So it's just something to think about. And you can also find accessibility information on here, and you can do a comprehensive list. Now, this one is not a good one, but sometimes it will tell you more about those standards. So it's like if someone is using a wheelchair and I see all of this, well, obviously I wouldn't recommend this to this person, even though it says it has accessibility features, right? So those are some of the things that we have to dig into. And another thing that I always do is I will copy paste this, good old copy paste. I'm going to stop share real quick. I'm going to go to another window. And so what I'm doing right now is I am putting that copy paste in, and then now I'm going to share. If I can find us. And why I do this is for scamming purposes. And then also I can find some other information. For instance, so Walker Court Apartments, they have their own website. I love that because I can go in, I can peruse, I can see what's really going on. I can also look and see if I can apply online. I can see how easy it is for the client to pay, like if they can pay online or what that looks like. And then I also can check Google reviews, which I love because I want to make sure it's a safe space. I want to make sure it's a place where someone can hang their hat. I want to make sure that they're not going to be worried about in 2 years, I got to get out, because that has happened. So I check those Google reviews. You can and then you can connect to that person, and then you can see what other sites they're on. So this lets you know that it is a legitimate space. So that is doing your extra work, and I highly recommend it. And then when I'm
Keep
speaking
that
to,
again now, because that seems to be something really important to not get scammed. So,
yes,
so there are people out there trying to do nefarious things on the internet. repeat what you said about how to prevent that.
Yes. So we look at the link, we copy and paste the apartment and the address, and then we go to Google, our good friend Google, and then we put that in your search engine. And then what we're looking for is seeing what other options, what other search results come up. We look for Google reviews because then we have people actually saying facts about this space. So then we can ascertain what's going on, right? We can figure out what might happen if someone applies for this space. And then you will have more info, like knowledge. You could call them, you can email them, you can research, you can see more pictures, you can see floor plans usually. Ooh, I couldn't speak. And then you'll know, because we have all of these results and we see it on multiple lists and we see there's an actual website of this space, that they are probably not scamming.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. And I'm going to stop that share and then we're going to go back to another cool thing that I love about this site is they have an affordability calculator. Now, this is really important for providers who are trying to help someone, because some spaces are only low income eligible, or you have to meet certain medians, so you need to know how much that person's going to be able to pay, or the let's say the property manager is maybe they get tax breaks for certain income eligibility, and so you want to know where that person falls. And I love this. So we're talking about Columbia. What is Columbia? Maury, I think. Is that Maury? Is my brain working today? Let's see. Oh, yes, it is. Okay. So I could click on Columbia. You can do this for wherever you are living in that county, in whatever county that you are in Tennessee. And then you can put the number of people in the family. So this person said they were one person. We're going to say this person is making 15 an hour. And do they have Section 8 voucher? Right now, we're just going to say no. Number of bedrooms, this person is ready. It's pronounced Murray? Oh my gosh, I never knew that. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. Now I want
It
to feel
should be
something.
pronounced Mari, but it is Murray, yes.
It's Murray. Okay. All right. I bet the gentleman that I was talking to this past week was cracking up off me because he didn't correct me and I kept calling it Mari. Okay, so Murray. All right. So I've got it. Okay, so this gives us framework. So here we go. That person's annual gross, I know, is 31,000. Some people can't be like Dr. Davis, Bruce. Some people we can't be like you can't do this quick math. So this person is 31,200 annually. So they're looking for their gross monthly income that they could afford towards rent is 780 or less a month. And then this gives you some of these HUD conversations when we're talking about. Thanks, Joan. Um, so when you're talking to other providers, or if you're talking to someone who might be helping you at your housing authority, this may be some language that they may say, so you'll be able to speak the way they speak. And this is something that I had to learn so all by myself. Okay. Okay. Next up. Sorry you all if I'm being a little silly. Okay.
But we don't have to learn it all by ourselves because you're helping us. So thank you.
Glad to do it. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, where is share screen? Right. Oh, it took me all the way back? Well, I'll say. So let's find it. Where were we? Here we are. Okay, so that's Tennessee Housing Search. It's Wonderful. I'm not going to go through all of that listing, but it'll help you know waiting list. And you can figure out how to not be scamming. You can also look at information about the space. You're going to use your good old friend Google. Another place that I love is affordable housing online. I'm going to stop share and tell you what I see, and then we'll go to the next. Well, actually, no, it's important to show you. So bear with me that we're stopping and starting. Okay, so this is a wonderful resource. It explains information about what Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher is. It explains information about public housing, and it shows you this information by state. It is so good. So you could scroll all the way down and you could see where we are in Tennessee. Tennessee has 91 public housing agencies. Tennessee is managing 103 waiting lists. Some may be open and some could be opening soon. Now this site probably updates maybe like once a month. So it is not as frequent. There's another one on my list called low income housing that does its checks more, probably like every 2 weeks. But this one is usually once a month. Now you can search by Tennessee, or at the very top, you could put in your area. So we're talking about Columbia. And then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to choose Columbia, Tennessee. And so this is going to give me some information about Columbia, Tennessee. So we have 406 income-based apartments. So we know that that could mean that the whole apartment property could be income-based, or there could only be specific units held. Very important. Very important. That's why we got to talk to these people. We got to talk to the developers. Because we need more housing. We need more units. And then we have 513 affordable apartments. And some offer reduced rent to low income households. So that might not be the whole apartment complex again. So as we scroll down, right now, what we see is that there are no Section 8 waiting lists available in Columbia. I will say that HUD is offering certain funding for individuals who are unhoused. So if someone is, and what that means by HUD standards, when they say homelessness, they are meaning they are in a space that isn't safe. So if you're couch hopping, that isn't homeless. You have to be in your car. You have to be on the street. That is what is considered. So know that when you're having these conversations. So you could reach out to your housing authority in your area, and then they may have a certain voucher that may allow you to get Section 8, even though the Section 8 housing choice voucher is closed in your area. Now, here we have some apartments, and we don't have all of the apartments, right? Because they're all not open right now. But these are the ones that may have vacancies and spaces and units available. And so let's just click on one. So we see Cedar Point. We can view this apartment. We'll skip through this ad. If you don't like ads, because we're on using WebEx and we're talking virtually, I'm not using a certain platform, but I love Firefox and DuckDuckGo because all these ads don't pop up and I don't have to get confused about what's safe to click. So Cedar Point Homes gives us each time, they'll give you a little bit of information about what it's close to, what they have at their space. You can also have the contact who you're going to contact at Cedar Point. They are not giving us information about the price, but they're showing us the square footage, how many bedrooms they have. They have 112 units, right? And low income housing tax credit. So for me, that may mean that most of the spaces are actually affordable for everyone. But that's just something to think about, right? That how many units and how many people are on the waiting list and how many are available. Then we scroll down, we see when we can talk to these individuals, we can learn what the low income housing tax credit means, and then we can see what they're looking at. So who can what the top is that person can make going in. And we know that the person that we were working with was 31,000, so they are at this point. So they're at the high end, right? So that's good to know. How many people are going to be in the house will give you that range of knowing where if this space is available to them. And then what do? I'm not going to do it this. Well, yeah, let's take time. So I would copy and paste it. Good old copy paste. I'll stop share. Ooh, I'm going to be good at this. Then I'm going to go to another window and then I'm going to put it in share. And so now we see what Cedar Point has. They have a website. We love it. And then they have 19 Google reviews. They're not as great as that other space, but it's 2.5. So we might give them a little leeway, but we're definitely going to check and see what's going on. We also, we could go to their site. We could see what their floor plan is. We can see, oh, and it says it has a floor plan. We can see availability. We can see if we can apply online. We can see if the person can pay online. How easy is it? Is it accessible? All of those things matter. Okay. And yeah, and they're on several lists. So there we go. Now, oh, we're moving time. Okay. So I'll go a little bit faster. So I won't go through all of my list, but lowincomehousing.com is basically like affordable housing online. Facebook groups we talked about for individuals who are creatives. Me, let's see. And young adults, people who are moving, who are going to school here, they're in bands, or like, I want to live in Nashville. I've got a guitar and a dream. I sometimes think about wraparound services for them. And then I want to show them Facebook groups where they can look for people who may be like-minded and who are looking for apartments. You can be your own Sherlock Holmes or your Inspector Gadget. I'm showing my age here, and you can figure out, what is this person about? Who are they friends with? What are they doing? Where do they go to school? So you can know that there's that safety piece, and then you can build up a relationship with them because maybe it's affordable if you can have a roommate. I have gotten so many young adults housed this way, and then we work on those independent living skills. We work on those wraparound services, and that way we can build them up, and that way it's going to be easier for them to live on their own, because sometimes it's like, I need to live on my own. I have this one young lady that I'm working with, and the first time I met her, she was just like, I've got to live on my own. And then she told me how much she could make. And it was just like, it's unfortunately right now, it's just not, we don't have that for you right now. So we had to think about, what was available, what we could do. And this was an option. So we started searching for people. She wanted to play music. She wanted to be able to have her cat. So we looked for people that she felt like she could connect to, that felt safe. And then she became friends with them online before she jumped right in and said, I'm going to be your roommate. And one roommate, she stayed there for a year. And then she was like, oh my gosh, I can't play my music like I want to. I got to leave. And so it's like, okay, well, let's find you another space. And now she's been with this person for 2 years. And she loves it. She would love to move out on her own, but she and in this space, she's been able to learn how to pay her bills on time, learn how to have shared space, learn how to budget, know what she can afford, know what she has to cut back. She's been able to use transportation. She uses WeGo Transit to get to her gigs, to have this connection. So we have to be creative sometime. It can't just be, and we have to have a conversation like, it may not be exactly what you wanted. We're going to have compromise, just like we all have to compromise. Like I'm trekking back and forth all the way to Nashville and back. But these are compromises that we have to make. And when we're talking about adulting, hey, that's real talk, right? Okay. Next up. So for people who are, so rent.com and apartments.com, it's just the same way. I'm not going to click onto that, but just make sure you filter with your accessibility, your amenities, and price range. And then you do the copy paste. So you don't use the phone number in rent.com or apartments.com. You look for the phone number that is on Google. Because otherwise, I mean, I tell you, just don't get down the robocalls. Save yourself some space, save yourself some time. Copy and paste. If you don't have the real number in Google, then don't call them, shut it down, move to the next. Trust me. Let me save you some time and effort. And for people who are wanting to purchase houses, THDA and Habitat. I love Habitat. I love it. Get on their waiting list, get on their updates. They open up little communities all throughout Tennessee. You will actually be able to take housing classes. It is so affordable. You connect with other individuals. You volunteer time towards the construction of your house, which gives you more stake in your house. It's so affordable and it's urban living. It is remarkable. I highly, 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 highly recommend Habitat. USDA, if you're like me and you're like, I have transportation where I can get back and forth, and I love country living. I mean, me and my husband, we would, on the weekends, we would drive to All Out so we could go thrift store and junking and antiquing. So for me, and it's like, well, I definitely can't afford Nashville anymore. What can I afford? And I want to purchase a home. I want to have a space where I can lay down roots and be a part of my community. The USDA Rural Home Loan, it worked for me. It's so great. They're not shy with people who are on fixed income or social security benefits, seniors. They are not afraid, and they have so many programs. And if you're looking for modifications and you live in a rural area and you need some modifications for your home, they have a great repair and home loan plan. It is so good. They have built-in protections, so I encourage you to learn more about them. USDA is fabulous. Babs, yes, I will send you that information. I'm sorry, I saw it and then I didn't respond because I'm too busy yakking it up. And then last but not least, recovery within reach. Great for providers. So let me stop share. I'm pulling this up. And then okay, so recovery within reach. This is cool. They not only have blogs, trainings for us individuals who are looking for more knowledge, webinars, but they also have resources, peer support groups, so wonderful, and housing. So if you're looking for transitional housing, supervised group homes, government subsidized housing, or just group homes, housing for veterans, housing for those who are not housed, then this is a wonderful space. You can find lots of information. You'll find who your contact person is. It's so cool. So you would do your housing search, and then you would put your area. We're going to say Columbia. Let's stick to it. Murray County. Hey, I'm learning. then and then it'll show us spaces. And look at that. So some spaces may cross, right? And then you would click on a space. Then we'll scroll down and it'll tell you what it's near. You can always copy and paste. Sometimes if it's like transitional housing or group homes, they may not show the exact address. It may be the office. So that is something to keep in mind. But it will give you the manager phone number. So that way you can reach out and you can figure out what is the space, how safe is it. You can actually set up times for visit. This is a wonderful site for providers. Highly recommend, and for families too. And with that, I think we are on to the next. We're almost done. Do we have time?
Well, we're running out of time. If I tell you what, we may need to have you back again, so you can maybe continue helping us understand these resources better. Because I tell you what, it's been fascinating today to have you on and to share these resources. Things I'd never thought of before. That's not surprising for me, but I bet some of the other people out there are equally shocked to see that there are these resources available. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing those.
You are so welcome, and thanks for everyone in the chat. And I'm gonna have to copy this chat so I can read everything because I didn't want to miss anything.
I was thinking that one page where you have all those links would be really valuable to our audience. If you're able to share that with us, we'll share it with everybody out there so that they can utilize those websites and get more familiar with them. I think everybody needs to do that just to understand more about how the housing market works out there. And
I gladly will.
I thank you so much, Marissa, for being on here with us today.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me, and I hope I did okay.
And we will have you back. We actually have a 5 timers club, so maybe we'll have you back 4 more times and you can become part of our 5 timers.
Do I get the jacket like they did on David Winter?
Well, I kind of like that. It's more of a virtual jacket, but
okay, I love it.
Yeah.
Take it. I'll take the emoji.
All right, very good. And thank you all for being here. This is Clinical Consultation Network. We do it every Tuesday at 12:30. Appreciate you all being here.
Bye.
See you next time.